Right, welcome back to more knowledge. And following again from that last one about the Noah's Ark, right? Basically you have the shark idea, right, in this Noah's Ark, right? Noah, a shark, right? You have the shark idea in this Noah's Ark, right? As you can see here, 6 and 9, which is the Masonic arch. It's a very in a vessel. The vessel can be a drinking vessel, like a cup or goblet. Right, so this is totally coded, as we know. And as I was talking about in that last video, the idea of the floods and the water, right? And basically how in the sort of this 1970s, they were sort of concerned with shutting up the ark, right? As I pointed out the codes, right? As we see here, right? The chronology is an important aspect of this, right? But as you see here, right? Homologous with the Jewish temple, right? You got your Jewish idea there, right? And so if we go back and take a look at the 70s again, right? What was done in the 70s again? You can see from this, right, that they released a lot of shark films in the 1970s, right? Might go to the jaws of death. Right? A lot of shark films, not just obviously the famous one which was Jaws, but they released a lot of shark films in the 1970s, right? And obviously when all the makers of all these movies are involved in the Masonic, the Masonic network and that, right? So obviously this was all to do with that same thing, like what I was talking about in that last video, that there was shutting up the ark doors round about the 1970s period, right? And still make a few now, but they're all like second rate, and no one pays any attention to them. The 70s, they had a lot of shark movies. So wash with killer shark movies. So the idea of the shark, see, come from the Noah's Ark. And obviously real sharks, like in real life, them gone around killing people or not, you know what I mean? It's like the very, very odd time where a shark will even attack a human being or what have you. You know what I mean? Probably wouldn't at all, to be honest. You know what I mean? Obviously they say sometimes it happens on the X news and that, but interesting now, because again in the 70s you had a lot of movies which were basically referencing the type of the Holocaust idea with the World War II, right? A lot, like all these type of disaster movies and movies about plane kidnappings. I remember there was like a series of movies called Airplane or something, or Airport, right? And they were always, always about like hijacking the planes and what have you. And it was always like a group of Arabs or something kidnapped a plane with Jews on or whatever, right? And as you can see by this, the hex, right? The 6 points, the hex. Of course, one triangle going upwards, and one going down, right? And that brings the Jaws idea, right? Obviously, Jaws about the shark, right? And you also had the James Bond movies of the 70s, which had the character Jaws in, right? So you had your Jaws idea was all over the place. And as I showed in maybe the last video, one of them with the Jew, the E, right? The E becomes the A, right? And look at the Hebrew Aleph letter for that. So as we know that this E is basically free, and the A can become the free as well by rights of looking at the Aleph, right? So you have a lot of stuff. kind of interesting, like, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Again, coming from this period, early to mid 70s. So it must have been at this stage, right? Like I said, there must have been, what do you call it? Crews in the outdoors, right? Running a program round the world, and that there must have been closing the outdoors up, right? Yeah, again, the James Bond character from again the 70s period. And the actual novel of the Jaws shark one was 1974. This is very interesting. Read the shark symbol in Christianity is associated with the devil, the demon of the waters. And again, your Noah's Ark floods idea. And there's the G race. There's the G race, right? So no specific mentions of sharks, but Leviticus 11:9, 9:11, right? 9:11 sees creatures living in the water of the seas and the streams. You may eat any that have fins and scales. And there's the Mayan illusion idea again, right? And the Jehovah's Witnesses. Parasite free. And then there's shark. Yeah, right. Here's a symbol. I mean, the poster, right? The poster of the Jaws. And obviously, it's a person swimming along in the water, and the shark comes out and grabs him, type of thing. So again, it's that they were that biblical Noah's Ark floods idea, right? When you got here, you know what I mean? You got naturals swimming in the water like fishes, right? Again, the Bible idea of the fishes, right? And the big shark come along and just grab hold of them and that, you know, predator on them and that thing. And obviously, all these movies created a bit of a shark phobia amongst people, right? Fear of being chomped. Fear one and all attributed to Jaws, right? Now if you swap this Jaws with the Jews idea, and then look at all the type of conspiracy ideas about Jews and all this, right? You see a very similar type of idea, right? The fear and all this. Of course, one of the slogans of it was, be afraid to go in the water or something. Be afraid to go back into the water. And like I say, there was a lot of movies with Jews in the 1970s, right? Yeah. loads also in the 70s there was idea about conspiracy movies and that, Capricorn 1 or something. There's one Holocaust 2000, and that's Fiddler on the Roof. There was Capricorn 1 and that was the different conspiracy ones in the 70s. And they were all about it was all about creating paranoia and conspiracy in people's minds. Right? This was 1970s idea, right? So again, it's to do with what I was talking about, the Noah's Ark. Right? A load of conspiracy thrillers and that from the 1970s. They didn't tend to make them type of things. No, it was all in this particular time period they made all these. You know what I mean? Like this type of thing and that. They create, paranoia in people's minds and that, see? Of course, it's, the day with what I was talking about, right? The Swiss conspiracy. This one's a really good example, right? Because, it's about a passenger train, right? Like the type of all aboard idea. Like the Ark, right? And it's about a train full of people, right? And it's about a disease-infected terrorist, so it's like the sort of virus idea, like what you're seeing in the COVID, right? And the hero is named Jonathan Chamberlain, the eunuch. But it's got this idea about Jews in, made in 76, right? It's got an idea about Jews in and all this, right? Lee Strasberg, right? Is an old Jewish book and that. He works like to his death, like this Holocaust thing with this sort of violin music and all that. He works to his death, that type of idea of just accepting the death or something and working towards a death. So low grade. And, it's got the type of Jew ideas of the 70s. Right? It was also the Jewish. It was called Hyman Roth in The Godfather. It's a very interesting movie, that one, like. There's a scene on the movie, like, right? These type of ideas of sacrifice, sacrificing themselves and all this, right? It's an interesting little movie, this one, like. Who was Cassandra, right? Was the Princess of Troy, the Tea Roy, so the Tea King, right? And something to do with the Trojan War. Obviously the Trojan War is where they went in disguise inside that horse, right? So went in disguise. The Greek goddess who foretold the curse. Cross is the castrated idea, right? And the crossing is the trans crossing, right? As we know. But the Trojan idea, Trojan priestess, an impending disaster, see what I'm saying? See, obviously a disaster idea, impending disaster, so that's what all that conspiracy stuff in the 70s was about. We're trying to put disaster into people's minds and that, see? An impending disaster. So they were trying to sabotage people's lives with disaster, see? From that period. For to deal with the sort of own Noah's Ark ideas and all that, see? Floods for the